Alright, in the last tutorial, incremental notation, I introduced this thing, dy dx. Okay, I did not only introduce it, but I also explained how to look for it. And how did we look for it? First, we find the delta y over delta x, which is just the average change of y due to a particular change in x. And then after that, we find the limiting value of this gradient, ionic gradient here, as the change in x is very small. Okay, as the change in x becomes smaller and smaller. So once we have obtained this, so we have obtained dy dx. So we did these things, but I did not say what these things are called. This process sasa of finding delta y delta x, okay, alafu uje utafuta limiting value yake as the change in x is so small, hii process ndo tunaita differentiation from first principle. Okay, this is what we call differentiation from first principle. Kwa hiyo last time you remember tulikuwa na equation y equals to x squared, afu tukapitia huu mchakato mpaka tukapata dy dx. Manake pale tulifanya differentiation from first principle, japo sikusema kwamba we have done differentiation from first principle. Na hii dy dx tulioipata na yenyewe na jina lake, okay, and the name is called this is what we call the differential coefficient of y with respect to x. Haya ndo majina ya mambo haya. So tulifanya differentiation from first principle, and then we obtained the differential coefficient of y with respect to x, ambayo simbo yake ndo hiyo dy dx. But apart from dy dx, other symbols for this differential coefficient, kuna hii hapa dfx dx. Okay? For example, badala ya y equals to x square, let's say ingekuwa ni function fx is equal to x square. Kwa sehemu ya y, you just put fx. Just the same. Au f dash x. See, hapa it's just unaandika sana. Kwa hiyo this is a simple notation of this one. Au nyingine ambayo nafikiri haitumiki, tusani kama tutaitumia sana, ni hii hapa. Okay, all these things, they mean the same thing, that I have calculated the differential coefficient of a function of x with respect to x. A differential coefficient of a function of x with respect to x. So I did introduce these two things, but now I did introduce the name of those two things which we have done, differentiation from first principle and differential coefficient of y with respect to x, but now I have introduced them. Okay, this differential coefficient of y with respect to x is also, au niseme hii differential coefficient kwa kifupi, kwa sababu it could be any letters hapa. It's also called derivative, yeah. So the derivative of y with respect to x. Au pia, another term ni derived function. Hizi zote plus differential coefficient ni kitu hicho, ni terminologies ambazo watu wa differentiation wanazitumia interchangeably. Kwa mfano, this function fx is equal to x square, you can remember that tulipata df of x dx, tulipata ni sasa na 2x. So 2x is the derivative of a function f of x equals to x square with respect to x. Na hii hapa, au baada ya kuandika hivi, unaweza kuandika pia f dash x equals to 2x. Kwa hiyo hii hapa ni the derived function. This one is a derived function. Now, remember tutorial 1, tuliongea issues za gradient. So, hii kitu inaitwa differentiation. Differentiation, okay? sijasema from first principle, nimesema tu differentiation, okay? Kwa sababu njia ya calculate differentiation ziko nyingi, utaziona mbeleni. So far tumefanya first principle na leo tutafanya tena first principle kwenye hii tutorial. Lakini in the coming tutorials you will see more methods of doing differentiation. Sasa hii differentiation is just a process of finding the gradient of a curve. Okay? It's just the process of finding the gradient of a curve, okay? Na ile differential coefficient is just the gradient of a curve at a given point. Okay? Refer to tutorial 1. It's just the gradient of a curve at a given point. So remember from 4 ulisoma coordinate geometry na kutafuta gradient na nini. Kwa differentiation ichukulia kama advanced method ya kutafuta gradients. Unaweza kaichukulia hivyo. Now let us do this question here. Let's say use differentiation from first principle to find the derivative, or to find the differential coefficient, to find the differential coefficient of y with respect to x of the function y equals to what is this, 5x squared. So that's our function there. Let us find the differential coefficient of y with respect to x. Manake tutafute dy dx by using first principle. Manake tutafute kwanza delta y delta x, after tutafute limiting value of delta y delta x as delta x approach 0. So let's do that one. So here we have y equals to 5x squared. So I know that e delta y is just changing y. Itakuwa sawa na manake na x na yenyewe imechange. Manake kama y imechange delta y na x imechange delta x. Okay, you can make sense about this by referring to the previous tutorial. Now, I'm just going to use algebras, okay, to determine hii kwanza, because step 1 nipate hii dy dx. So if I subtract the two equations, okay, y and y they go. Okay, nimechukua hii ya chini toa hiyo ya juu. So nitabaki na delta y ni sawa na 5. This one is x plus delta x squared minus 5x squared. So this one is delta y. It's just going to be equal to 5x squared plus nizidishe hiyo ndani kwanza kabla sijaingiza whatever. So this one is just x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared minus 5x squared. Okay, so let me extend that one. So my delta y is just going to be equal to 5x squared plus 10x delta x plus 5 delta x squared plus minus 5x squared. Don't forget that one. So they go down. So I just stay with delta y equals to 10x delta x plus 5 delta x squared. So I can just factor out delta x. Kwa hiyo itakuwa ni 10x plus 5 delta x. So nikigawanya na delta y huku na delta x huku, nabaki na 10x plus 5 delta x. Kwa step 1 nishaipata hiyo. Sasa limiting value ya hii, okay, as delta x approach 0. So delta x ikiwa inakaribiana na 0, let's say 0.000000 ngapi, nikizidisha kwa 5 maana nitapata tu 0.000000 kitu. Nikijumlisha na 10x, this value of 0 is very negligible. Yani itakuwa haina mchango sana nikijumlisha na 10x. So the value is just 10x. So this 10x now, sindo hii. This now is dy dx. So this one is a differential coefficient of y with respect to x of the function y equals to 5x squared. So what we have done here is differentiation from first principle. But we have used algebra. Tumetoka algebra sana. Ipo formula ya kurahisisha mambo. Na hiyo formula, yani hichi tulichokifanya chote kinaitwa differentiation from first principle. Ipo formula sasa ambayo ina summarize process yote. Hiyo formula yenyewe inaitwa hivyo differentiation from first principle, kwa sababu inafanya hiyo differentiation from first principle. And that formula of differentiation from first principle is just that dy dx is equal to limiting value of this function, kama ile y, hii ni sasa na ile y plus dy plus delta y, minus here, it's not plus, remember to subtract, minus ile function ya juu over delta x peke yake, but the limiting value of this as delta x approach 0. So the limiting value of this guy as delta x. So this is just a formula for differentiation from first principle. So in the next tutorial we shall discuss this formula. We shall see examples how to solve questions of differentiation from first principle kwa kuanzia kwenye hii formula hapa, badala ya kusolve algebra kama tulivyofanya kwenye mifano miwili ya tutorial hii na tutorial iliyopita. So let me just say see you in the next tutorial.